A very loving welcome. Our beloved Gurudeva said to me before she passed, whenever you gather together in my name and you're doing God's work, I'll be right there with you. So let's acknowledge the presence of God and our beloved Guru right here with us. And let's begin with a prayer together. Infinite beloved, divine light of joy, beloved masters of self-realization, and our Gurudeva, Meta Yogananda, Mahasaya Dharmaji, how blessed we already feel to be full of your divine joy and your love. And we ask our hearts and minds be ever open to expanding wider and deeper as we move forward into your light as one family, one heart, one love. May the will of life be ever done. Amen. So dear family, I can see lots of little boxes there, and it's a joy, real joy to see you all with us this evening. So just by way of a short introduction, how this evening came about was some ideas that I'd been having, and independently and by no coincidence, Joanne had been having. And then as the divine willed it, we started sharing some of these ideas, and we realized that we were getting a real inner prompt to share with you and bring it forward. So I suppose it's important to say that this is not a course or a workshop or a talk. We like to think of it as an offering, a sharing of some of our experiences, very much linking to the depth of Meta Yoganandaji's words and her treasures, so that we can all as a family help each other to go forwards. And I'm sure you can see that this is being recorded, but also to let you know that the recording is generally on the speakers, so you won't actually be seen. And at the very end of our session together today, we will stop the recording and we will ask you if you wanted to stay on just for any clarification or to bring forward questions or even suggestions for expansion on some of the things that we'll be presenting to you. So you'll have that opportunity. And probably during this evening, either Joanne or myself will just stop and ask to take a straw poll, and you'll put your hand up if there is anything that, not so much that you would share with us, but if we make a statement that we feel you might be agreeing with, that you're on the same page with us, so we know how to take it forward. It doesn't just become about what our ideas are. So I hope that's clear for everybody. And this evening, the theme, as we've been having on most of our satsangas, is spiritual progress in a new era, but very much with the theme of finding and keeping the joy with Meta Yogananda, Mahasaya Dharmaji. And from Joanne and I, very much a how-to, how we have found ways forward with that, because we are simply just sharing and making our offerings. And obviously you will go via Gurudeva to God. We are not really that important. We are just following the will. to help you link even more so. So it really is a family pooling, if you like, of divine energy tonight, and any inspirations you feel or any experience that you've had along the lines of what we speak about, then there'll be plenty of opportunity to bring that forward, because we have some really exciting things that we feel are going to be the way forward for us all. So watch this space, and please keep with us on all of this. So I feel to hand over to Joanne now to say a little more about the how-tos. Thank you, Joanne.
Hello, family. What a joy to see you all. And as Yogananda said, both of us have been really being inspired on this topic. And so as a little bit of background for you, I heard the Finding and Keeping the Joy talk more than 20 years ago and was like, yes, that's it. I'm going to have that. And struggled, honestly, for the good part of 20 years to find it and really have it. And since Yogananda, Mahasaya, Dharmaji's Mahasamadhi, have really been intuitively guided for some how-tos that have greatly sped my progress. And so in thinking about what I would have liked to have had all those years ago, that's what we're intending to bring forward now, is ways to really help you to speed it so it doesn't have to take you as long as it did me. Because what I want, or what I have for myself, I want that and even better for all of you. So I'm hoping you can move right along like I have in the last couple of years with these extras. And very much agree with Yogananda that it is about practicing Guru Yoga. So I think probably the first time I ever had the blessing of seeing Yoganandaji in 1999, she stepped in on my pure meditation course, and she said something along the lines of, I'm just like an old time telephone operator when they had the plugs, like they'd plug one plug and plug another plug to help you to connect to somebody on the telephone. She said that's her role, is to help us connect with God like that. And so if any of my experience and the things that I've learned can help you to plug into Gurudeva's teachings more deeply, that's what I'm hoping. So I really encourage you to just take what fits, use it. If something doesn't fit, it doesn't mean there's anything about you about that. It's just, this is what worked for me. And as Yogananda and I were listening and planning about this, we're like, oh, there is so much that we're being inspired to bring forward. So we're just going to barely start tonight, barely start. And it's also been really dropping in for me that literally for the last couple of years, I've been being intuitively guided for how this community is going to expand, how our family will have ways of interacting more with each other. So some of the things that we're feeling will be coming, in addition to regular kinds of video, probably little bits about, think about this, as a way to help your progress. Always referring back to what Yoganandaji has left us. We're really seeing how amazing it would be if we had an online community, if you will, where if we see some evidence of God and Guru working in our lives, we can make a little post and say, look at this, isn't this incredible how it's just working? And also ways that we can, in a very empowered and positive mindset, ask each other for support, and then be supporting each other in that kind of way, so that we really can come together as family now in this new era to move mountains together. So we are just, we're just knowing that our work today is to just bring through just what needs to be today, because we'd like to give you it all right now, and that's just not going to be possible. So that's a little bit about how it's coming into being, is we're just really inspired to help you forward like we've been. And the reason that we asked you to listen to Mehdi Yogananda's talk on finding and keeping the joy, and to listen for the phrase or phrases that really stand out to you, is Mary and I both have done that. And the way that we have been using that in a way, this how to, for years and years and years, is when we come to some difficulty, we can actually remember and hear Mehdi Yogananda saying the phrase, and her cadence and her tone and everything. And so as we thought about how powerful that is, it's that, it's one thing to see a wrong thought and put it aside and put an affirmation in its place. That is powerful. However, by putting the affirmation as it came through Mehdi Yogananda in its place, we're really reaching for her level of understanding. Because even though I hear the words and resonate with them, as I just say them in my own voice, in a way, it's like staying at my level of understanding right now. Whereas the words that Mehdi Yogananda has spoken have behind them the essence and the vibration of the full realization of that phrase. And so by thinking of Mehdi Yogananda saying it, I'm reaching even higher than my level of understanding now. And that's how I continue to deepen and deepen and get the blessing of Guru Yoga, right? I'm asking God and Guru in that moment to help me with this thing that I'm striving to transform in myself. So it really does deepen it. And I have found that by writing it and keeping it around in various places, that helps me remember, because let's face it, I'll put my hand up. I forget over and over, like we all do. That's lovably human of us. So to have the reminders around on sticky notes or cards or whatever it happens to be is super helpful. So I'm just going to switch quickly to gallery view so I can see all the little boxes. Is that resonating with everyone? Does everyone grasp how, by thinking of Guruji and her saying these words, how that is really helping you to take it even higher or deeper? Everybody got that? Great. So that is one of the best how-tos, right? Is to really use that. So if you haven't been doing that already, start doing that. And we've been left so many recorded words, right? I don't know about you, but in the past, I'd listen to a talk, and at the beginning I'd go, oh, that's a good one. And then by the end of the talk, my hands were like overflowing with all the little phrases I was trying to hold from that one talk. So any thoughts from you, Marianne, about all of that?
No, I'm listening and obviously inspiring and thinking of how things worked for me too. Because when we think of Guru Yoga, we are generally thinking, placing the thought of Guru either in our third eye or having a sense of her presence there and asking for help or receiving a blessing. But if we do that, having listened to one of Gurudeva's phrases that really resonate for us, that we feel are going to help us take a step forward on our path, that really does marry up the affirmation with the Guru Yoga. And what I find helps me is, you know how when we sing song chants, we have it louder, then we go more quietly, then silently within us. Well, what I've been finding, probably since the start of COVID, I've been practicing this, is a fifth time that when I hear Gurudeva's phrase that particularly resonates for me, then I hear her say it to me and I play it back. Sometimes I turn the sound up so I hear it, and then I turn it down a bit so it goes down quietly, and then I repeat it inwardly, and then I wait, because in that quiet space after that, there's almost, I'm going to say, an echo or a resonance of the vibration of those words. And I sort of half jokingly said to Joanne, but I did mean it, that I never used to leave much space up here. It's always being a human doing and thinking, oh, what do I need to do here? And this is how you do that. But apart from when I meditated, but I've now created space up here, because I feel, for me, the infinite often says, you're so busy filling up the space, I can't get in. So if I allow that little space, even after hearing the phrase and letting it resonate, that really does go in a lot deeper. Because hearing Gurudeva say the words, you know, when Joanne and I first talked about, this was the talk that we were going to focus on for our first week. And Joanne said, oh, you know, I've got it written down here. I wonder which one that one is. Because we both had the same thought that this was the right one to start with. And I said, I hear Mataji's tone. And for me, when we're all going to find our own way forward with this, because the infinite opens up myriad ways to each individual. So there's no one way to God. Let's make that really clear. But what worked for me was I could hear Mataji's tone. I heard when she first started that talk, soon we're on our travels. That is a joy. And I could hear how her tone changed in my mind when she was saying, can everything be a joy? And so that's how, for me, I take it more deeply. Now, I know that there's lots of you, and so we can't get individual feedback just now. Probably at the end we will. But would you like to just pop your hand up if that's making sense to you and perhaps resonates for you? Good, good. And if it doesn't, please do keep it up here or make a note of it, because, you know, there are ways that we can, at the end, perhaps use different phrases, or you'll bring something forward that we hadn't thought of. Because as Joanne said, you know, there may be things that I say that she'll feel to expand on, or vice versa. But that's just the way that Gurudeva is working through both of us at this moment. And I think we've said before on lots of our maybe refreshers or talks together, because most of us have met together before, haven't we? That Gurudeva hasn't left us a huge amount of books, if you think about it, or a huge amount of CDs. But the depth in each phrase and each word is what I find is helping me more and more now. And I know I'm not the only one, because I'm sure that there's lots of nods happening around the boxes here. You know, it's the depth. It's never, with Gurudeva, it's never been quantity. It's always been quality. And even in my very early days, when I was very, very raw to and new to all of this, there was something in my soul that always recognized that I was hearing something really precious. And I didn't always grasp. Most of the time I probably didn't grasp the depth of everything. But there is a depth. And you just think how many phrases, I bet if we asked each one of you now, what was the phrase that really resonated from Gurudeva's Finding the Joy talk? And as many boxes as there are that many phrases. And if we take those to our hearts and really make it an affirmation, and when we affirm, and Joanne's going to expand a bit more on the how-tos at the moment, we need to not just affirm, we need to visualize, and if we don't visualize, get a sense of seeing ourselves there, knowing that it's done, because that's exercising the power of our free will that we have. Because we both of us said we've idled in neutral sometimes. You know that phrase? You've moved from something being negative. So you know that you recognize a negative in yourself. All of us are career bands of some years standing. So we recognize if there's a negative. We know that we can flip the coin, put a positive in. We've got so many ways to help us with that. And sometimes we stay with that. But really, Gurudev is saying, take that further. Take that further and really be it and live it. She didn't say at the very end of that talk, the joy is yours, the peace is yours, the love is yours. She didn't say you've got to work for that. You've got to earn that. You've got to try for that. You've got to hope for that. She said it's yours. So I take that in deeply and think it's already here. I just need to open that curtain, open that window, and let it in a bit more. So, Joanne, do you want to say any more about the how-tos? Because you've got some good ideas on the how-tos there.
Mm-hmm. One of the important things that Yogananda and I identified as well for ourselves is that we've made a decision that this will work. And if at the end of one of the talks on CD9, Yogananda speaks about, are we going to get there? Of course we are. Of course you are. Right? So particularly because we know we're eternal beings and we will all get there, use your mind power and decide it will happen. It's not a question of whether. The only question is sort of when. And even that, we don't need to be worried about. So taking those and also combining that with Gurudeva's See It Done. I believe it's September 5th in Live in the Light. Seeing things as done. A how-to for that is to, and what I've been doing for the last few years is when something amazing happens, I write it in pencil on the day in Live in the Light, because that's how I sort of track big things. And so then as I reread around from year to year, because I read it every day, as I reread around, I'm like, oh, yeah, I remember that. Wow, and so I can see my progress. So envision the day when you will come back around, however you're going to track these things for yourself. Maybe you'll come back around to a May 1st and you're living the light. And you'll think to yourself, oh my goodness, it has been years since I even had to think about that thing that seemed so big and so difficult and never was going to happen. It's just gone. Not a problem for years. I've been happy or joyous or whatever, patient, whatever you're deciding now for years. Oh my goodness. And you'll just, like with tears of joy, acknowledge the amazingness of having God and Guru in our lives. And so if you can envision that and like feel into feeling how that will feel when you are just like so incredibly humbly grateful that, look, there it is. The more that you can feel into that feeling that you will have all those, whenever it is, and that it's been this amazing spans of time now. And it's just been nothing. You've just been yourself. The more you can feel into how that will feel and feel that now. Seeing that as done and feeling that feeling now. The quicker you magnetize it to yourself. And this is an amazing way of how to use our mind power for positivity. Because thought combined with feeling is attractive, right? What we focus on grows. What we focus on, we bring to ourselves. So this mind power is at work, period. And whatever's showing up in your life is showing you what you've been putting thought and feeling behind. And this was just stunning to me when I really suddenly grasped this. I was like, right. Lots of thoughts about what if this terrible thing happens? What if, in all the kind of negative ways. Lots of feeling around it. And then I would cancel and clear it and whatever, but not really go to, and that's where I'm going. It's like I kind of move into neutral, but not really claim where I was going to go. So by putting this mind power to positive use of saying, that's where I'm going to go. I've heard Meta Yogananda say, I can have joy in everything. I'm claiming it. That's where I'm going. I've decided, and I'm asking for help, right? I'm letting God and Guru come in and do their 75%. And I'm going to create that scene when I see that, oh my gosh, it's been years and wow. And I'm going to put thought and feeling together in that way and think those things and focus on that more than the what if all the terrible things. And so you do need to spend time thinking that way. So if you have a few moments, then take yourself into that moment when you realize and feel into it really as much as you can. Feel into it. Now, a lot of egos will come in at this point and say, but how? I don't know how you're going to get there. Well, we don't have to know how because we have our intuition and God and Guru guiding us. We just need to say, that is where I am going. I'm asking for help. And then through intuition, God and Guru will guide you for the how. You don't have to figure out the how. Like I said already, you don't have to concern yourself with the when. And for bigger things, in a way, more detailed things, you don't even have to know the details. Like, let's say you're wanting to know what your purpose is. Well, feel into how you want to feel in your ideal life and don't even get distracted with the details. Let God and Guru guide you. And that's literally how I'm where I am today. Doesn't mean you're all going to where I am, but for your purpose, it is. Pray it from your heart, how you intend to feel, and you'll get there. Now, as soon as we do this, the ego goes, oh, get her. She's making progress. Quick, get her. So be aware of that. And rather than think, oh, this is so hard, blah, 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 poor me, right? When it starts getting thick, think, oh, thank God, I'm making progress. Because another important part of our mind power in this journey is decide what you will make of the process from getting where you are to where you're going. Maybe Yogananda said, it's hard if you think it's hard. It doesn't have to be hard. We'll need to play our part and allow God and Guru to help us. But we can decide how we will view that process. If you can view the process as spiritual progress and have joy in spiritual progress, then it can be a joyful journey. And every piece of information that comes to light, every wrong thought, every ungodlike thought that you uncover as you move toward the full joy, if that's what you're going for, whatever you're focusing on, anything that you uncover that's unlike that is simply information. So rather than letting your ego beat you up about, oh, you were thinking this terrible thing and whatever, which it'll try to do, right? Just go, look, more information. Now I can change it. Because until you've seen that ungodlike thinking, it's been in the background, pairing thought with feeling and creating for you. I literally, in the early days, when I would see something like that, I don't know if any of you done it, but I used to take my fist and hit my leg. I would hit myself for having had an ungodlike thought. So it's now I'm hitting God for showing me this thought. And so really try to release that and just decide, oh, look, good information. Great. Now I can do something. And another amazing key for me was to start to see myself as lovably human. My ego was really good at self-crucifixion. And like I say, information, ungodlike thinking would surface, and then I would literally crucify myself and the God within me about that pattern. So you can see it was, lots of spiral down, lots of cloud building, not so good. So when I grasped that, we're in the human body. Even the gurus that come in to the human body need a guru to help reawaken them. I'm in a human body. This is not an easy wake up. So as I'm uncovering these things, rather than think anything negative about myself, that is lovably human. Because we are loved. If you look at the 10 plus 2 commandments that Yoganandaji's left with us, almost every single one is about that. Accept yourself where you're at. Because as soon as we accept where we're at, we align with the universe. And when we combine that with love, it's amazing the progress we can make. So if you've had a tendency to be super critical with yourself, and therefore everybody around you too, honestly, and then you're drawing more criticism to yourself because you're being critical with you. So you see how this mind power in the background is generating uncomfortable stuff to show you what you're doing to yourself. Decide that you're lovably human and that there are things to work through. And this isn't a big problem. And you are so not alone. And I feel like that's a big piece of what this Ziva Light family community is going to help us to see, is that literally this week, it's been really thick, right? Because I said yes. I've been feeling this call to share. And so in saying yes, my ego was kicking up good. To where I was like, okay, God and Guru, I'm here. My ego's talking a lot. So I'm sorry, as Yogananda says, I'm not leaving much space to hear you at the moment, but I know you're there. And I know that this is going. I'm not going to focus on all of this. I'm just going to say, I know where I'm going. And it's, then you get to the point where it's like, oh my gosh. And so that was like yesterday, I got through the week and finally was like, okay, look at all the beauty. Because just yesterday, I started to understand why I'd been studying all these things that I was like, really? That's what I'm supposed to study? Okay. About like how to make videos and how to do online communities. And I was just like, oh, I get it. Gertie has been getting me to play my part for years now, literally. So it's really, really awesome once it clears. And that's another how to. As soon as you say yes, which you've all done by showing up today, you all said, oh, yes, I want joy. I want happiness and joy. So you've all already said yes, just by showing up, keeping your heart and your mind open. God and Guru are like, great, I'm going to help. So as soon as we say yes, things will start to surface. And also remember that that thought and feeling had been creating previous to this moment. So there are probably still some things that we've already set in motion that need to go by before we fully come to that true embodiment of what we began creating from our determination today. So while those things are going by, keep looking where you're going. It's not to say pretend they're not there, like use your tools and things. But let's say you're on a journey. If you don't look where you're going and you start looking at what you had been creating, you're no longer aiming at where you want to go. And the more time you spend looking at that, the more you're headed off in that old direction. Or if you really look, you might, end up in reverse. So keep looking where you're going. Affirm that this stuff that's going by isn't who you are. And Allison can vouch for my process. There are times that as things are going by, I choose to go through it really quickly. And so for me, a good release is to have a big and this and this and this and this, this and this and this. And I'm so happy and grateful this is going because it's not who I am, but this and this and this and this. And I only do that either inwardly with Yogananda and God directly, or with like a counselor who can hold the space and not collude with my ego in that moment. I don't take it to people who won't understand and will be like, yeah, that is horrible. Like I go to people who will hold the space and know with me that that is my quickest way through all of that, is to just say it out, because then it's up and out. I'm not holding on to it. I'm not struggling around with it. I'm just like, this is going. And then, okay, so much better. So I don't know if that's your process, but that's a part of my process. And people sometimes think, oh, you live at the center, you must always be whatever. Well, no, sorry, lovably human. And so whatever your process is for what you're going to do while it's going by, even if it is, you're kind of looking at it as it's going by, but you're claiming it's going by and you're still headed where you're going. Yeah, and you're not beating yourself up over any of this, because this is lovably human. Have it coming up and feeling really thick. That's lovably human. And I also get healing every week, almost every week. And, regularly I'm having times with Yogananda to help me inwardly, and counseling if I need it. So I'm using all my tools to help myself go and keep looking where I'm looking. And watch, the pieces of information. Some of them are really old and I don't need to do anything, but some of them are like, well, no wonder I was steering in that other direction I didn't want to go. Look at what I was thinking. No wonder. Great, let's flip that over. Now I'm free of that. Let's go. So all of those are super helpful hows of navigating this path. It's like we're out in the middle of an ocean, right? We're on a sailboat, so you can't just like power through to one direction. You got to go with what's there. If you're in the middle of an ocean on a sailboat, you have to pick a port. You've got to pick a port and keep aiming toward it. Even if the wind is going this way for now, and then it's that way for now, you have to keep re-aiming where you're going. Just going to switch to gallery. Resonating? Clear enough? Great. Any thoughts, Mariananda?
I'm just looking at gallery there with their hands up there. Yeah. Good. Lovely. Yeah, I had just thinking how much we said before, how it's a day and age of mind power.
Mm.
And as we do these things more and more, our minds get stronger. The intention in us becomes purer. I think it gets more purified. I think it becomes more, by no coincidence, we've got pure meditation, pure spiritual healing. We get more purified in our thinking. And I suppose because we're talking about offerings, our own experiences, I'm feeling that the biggest steps for me have often taken me by surprise because of the simplicity of my effort. Before, I would say my ethic would have been, you've got to work for this. You've really got to work hard to get there. And it's out there somewhere. There's self-realization, there's, there's what you're aiming for, unconditional love. You've got to work through this ego. And I've changed my attitude completely to that, because even reflecting back the last few years, which I know have been significant for all of us, the biggest changes happened when I really listened to Mataji saying, let go, let God. I mean, how simple is that phrase? All of us have heard it, I'm sure, lots of times. But instead of me feeling I've got to do the work, I've got to get there, I've got to find the joy, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. I don't have to do any of that. I just show up. I just show up and do the best I can. And I leave the rest in God's hands. And it's not hard. I've made it hard at times. I've complicated things, because sometimes, and I don't know if you will maybe see this as well, I've identified with my memories. I've identified with a part of me that thinks I know who I am. Oh, this is what you do. Oh, this is how you normally sabotage yourself. Oh, okay, well, yeah, but you normally do go this far and then you do. Whatever it is, I've identified with that. And when I say no, that's not who I am. Who I am is absolutely a part of God, a divine spark. And when we make our minds up that we really, really believe that, then literally the sky is the limit. By no coincidence that a guru said self-realization is possible in this lifetime if we wish it. Not if you beat yourself up and work as hard as you can 24 hours a day on your ego, I think coax the ego out, have a bit of a joke with it and say, okay, I see you. I see you. I'm lovably human, as Joanne said. But you're not going to define me because I know where I'm going. And I know the purity of Gurudeva's teachings. And I have utmost faith and trust. I have lots of ego and other bits that need polishing up. I don't mind admitting that. But one thing I do know is my love for God and Guru. And I trust my Guru when she says, you'll get there. You'll get there. You just do your best and let me do the rest. So I say that because in teaching courses over the last, let's say the last few years, since all the open pathway split, something that jumped out at me, which probably sparked off the conversation with Joanne and I, so again, by no coincidence, was how many people were defining themselves in a box. Okay, this is what I am. I'm a healer. I'm a counselor. I have to do that refresher. I have to do this. This is what I am. And I thought, no, there are so many ways that God manifests to all of us. Comes through divine love, divine joy, divine wisdom, divine peace, divine light, divine inspiration. And you can obviously think of loads more. And it will manifest in whatever way we allow it to, because the divine power is always drawing us, and we have something in us that I love the word, I think it's a Sanskrit word, Shraddha. It means yearning for the infinite. And I love that. It's like Ishvara, Lord of Light. And there is something in us that yearns for that. But rather than identify with the memories and, oh, that's okay for Joanne, or no, I don't possibly relate to that, or okay, yeah, I hear what you say, Marinanda, but that doesn't resonate for me. That doesn't matter. Just take it deeper into your own mind and say, where's my thoughts right now? Am I feeling, yeah, I sort of get this. There's a bit of a light bulb that I think there's a bit of a learning for me here that I can apply. This might work for me. Or actually, I've got something that might help someone else. Whatever it is, let those thoughts manifest. What you don't want to do, and this is a don't, isn't it? But what you don't want to do is block them and put a shutter down, because every single person here has God within them. And every single person here is loved exactly the same amount by God and Guru. And we all have the same amount of love. We just need to choose to be inspired by our spirit more and more. So I think I've noticed so many people on refreshers and courses in the last couple of years that are giving themselves a hard time and maybe not relaxing into their true spiritual self as much as they could be. So let me just do a straw poll again. Stick it on Valerie View. Can anyone relate to that, where they think they've given themselves a bit of a hard time and not relaxed into their spiritual self as much as they could? A couple of hands going up there. Yeah. Okay. Because that really resonated when I taught a course. You know, I can remember one course where 5 or 6 people out of the 7 on the course had a negative view of themselves. And so we're not seeing ourselves as God and Guru see us. So we need to forget that we are the being that we see reflected back on this screen here. That's just the outer shell. We need to remember what we really are. And I wonder whether you'd be happy to do a short visualization with me. Let me just ask you, because I don't want to assume. Would you be happy to do, let's say, a 10-minute visualization on some of these things? Is everybody happy with that? Yeah? Good. Okay. If you're not, then I would just say, if you don't mind, bear with us and sit in the quiet. Because I think, you know, we've talked a lot, and hopefully we've given you, Joanne's given you the how-tos, and we've given you some examples of what worked for us. And we hope that some of those are light bulbs that take you closer to Gurudeva and Gurudeva's words. So let's see how we can use the power of our minds to really affirm. So if you're happy where you're sitting, and if you need to take shoes off or put a cushion under your feet, so you're reasonably relaxed. I'm going to just put it on gallery while we do this bit, Joanne. So when you're ready, if you'd like to take a couple of changing breaths, just letting go, if you can, of anything else in the room, just letting go. And I'm going to ask you, first of all, to be aware the parts of your body that might be touching a chair or your sofa. Just be aware of those parts of your body, your back, maybe your buttocks, your feet, your arms. Just take your awareness to those parts. If you need to, just shift yourself a bit in your chair so you feel more comfortable. I think being aware of our bodies is really important because they do often try and talk to us and give us a message. And send the thought of peace and love all the way through your whole body. If there's any part that you know is aching or playing up a bit, surround it in light. And then when you feel reasonably comfortable, let's go a little bit deeper. Let's go inside. And let's just focus on our breathing for a moment. Very automatic. Don't worry about it speeding up or slowing down. You're not in control of it. Just allow it to be. Or just keep your focus on your breath. Remember, breath ties us to the body. So we're just watching it. We're just observing. If your mind wanders, gently bring it back and stay with watching the breath. And now feeling a little more relaxed, I'm going to ask you if you could just in your mind think of a phrase or one particular phrase that you felt really resonated with you in Gurudeva's talk on finding the joy, finding and keeping the joy. Keep your mind focused on that phrase. If you can, when you remember the words, inwardly say the words to yourself. I'll give you a minute or two just to keep that focus. So the vibration of those words going not just around your head, but really absorb them into your heart. And a good way to do that is to see those thoughts falling past your words into the hammock of your heart. See the hammock of your heart filling with love, and those thoughts are not being vocalized, they're just going straight into the love of your heart. So just try and get a sense of that. Now that phrase of Gurudeva's is resonating in your mind, is being fed by the love in your heart. And now inwardly lift it up to your third eye. And imagine Gurudeva there, that you're lifting that phrase, something that resonates, that's inspiring you, something in that phrase that you know you need at this moment. Lift that to Gurudeva. So now you've given it to God and Guru, and they will do their part. And for you, you have affirmed it, you've fed it with your thought, your love. And the final part is now see it done. No other thought comes into your mind, don't let it come in. Make your mind up 100%, see that done. That is who you are, that is who you're becoming, that is your birthright. Take your time, really see it done. Allow no other thought to come in. And just allow your heart now to expand with that love and that joy. You haven't got to do anything. Just allow it. Let that bubble of joy spread throughout your whole being. And if you could just focus on that joy for a moment. Don't worry if, as that joy spreads, you're aware of a little veil that is holding back a bit or stopping that flowing completely. See that as really positive. See that as a curtain that you're going to lift. Don't define yourself by any limitations. And just to finish, I'd like you just to imagine that Gurudeva is with you anyway, but just imagine that she's putting her arms around you right now and giving you a loving hug. All is well. And in your own time, when you're ready, just bring your thoughts back to your body sitting on the chair. Know that you've made a very positive, powerful affirmation. You've visualized it done. Your Gurudeva is with you every step of the way. So take your time. Bring your thoughts back to your body. Maybe do a breath or two if you need to. Changing breaths are good. Open your eyes when you feel it. If you need to, you can just rub your hands if you feel you need to bring yourself back a bit more. And because there are delightfully so many boxes here, can I just ask, is everybody happy with what they just did? And do keep in mind anything that, as I say, that you want to bring to us at the end that you feel, or any questions or clarification that you feel. So I think we all agree that we sometimes make things harder for ourselves. And I think, as Joanne said, you know, we all will see it or visualize it or experience our own spiritual progress in a different way. But as soon as you have affirmed, even by meditating, that you're looking for the divine, as Mataji says, once your feet are firmly on the spiritual path, lots of tests come. But it's our attitude towards those tests, because it's the journey that counts. And sometimes we get a little bit focused too much on the end result. And I have in the past. Well, I want to get there. This is where I want to be. But it's how I get there and what I become through my lessons that makes me get there. I hope that will make sense for everyone. So yeah, is there any more, Joanne, that you might want to say there or add to that?
Yes, the tests, in a way, if you want to think about it, if we'll use like a physical analogy of just showing you my hands, let's say we're at this level and we want to raise our vibration to get to here. And we set that intention and we see it as done. So we're already moving toward that. And the more we focus on that rather than anything that's of a lower vibration, the quicker we get there. And so if you can decide that the process from here to here is about, you know, just being a vibrational match. And so as the tests come and you're tempted to think, oh, well, you know, maybe I even fall off the scale, right? I'm not only here, I'm down here where you can't even see it anymore. Keep looking to where you're going and thinking, oh, good, I'm being given an opportunity to choose. So if we're talking about joy and something difficult happens and we fall into the poor me, we're not a vibrational match to joy, are we? And so we're just being given choices. Are you going to choose to keep affirming that that's where you're going and allow God and Guru to come through you? Or are you going to identify with your old self and even take yourself a little backwards sometimes? And even if you do that, honestly, even if you do that, because I've done plenty of that, once you go, oh, wait, this isn't what? Why am I doing this old pattern? Oh, I see. That thing happened earlier and I didn't really clear it or whatever. And so it's another piece of information. Oh, right. When that thing happens, I tend to go into that old pattern. Okay, well, I'll do better next time. So it's all just lovably human falling into an old pattern. Okay, well, let's go. Instead of beating yourself up even more and more and letting your ego talk all about your process. Yeah, which I don't know about you, but I know, like I know, that is why Yogananda Ji is my guru. Because, oh my goodness, my ego used to be really good at saying everything negative about everything and just circling and circling and circling down, down, down. Building lots of clouds. So I know that's why she is my guru, because she is so reflecting the light and so unconditionally loving in her feedback and all of her teachings. So if you find yourself, being tested at a level of, are you really going to say, yes, this is where I'm going, even in this thing that is presenting a difficulty and giving me opportunities to possibly fall back into an old pattern? I'm going to choose, and this has been a helpful phrase for me, I'm the one that decides, and I've decided and asked for help to be whatever I want to be. And I am so happy and grateful that God and Guru are working all things to my highest good. So I can even be happy and grateful for the things that are really testing, am I going to be a vibrational match for joy? Even while I'm in the thick of it, I can be happy and grateful that this, God and Guru, are working that to my highest good. I will get through it. I will be into the afterwards, because haven't you all been through something? And afterwards, you can see, oh, that really was important. Without that difficulty in me feeling who I'm not, I wouldn't have chosen to be even more who I am. So in the end, you can be really grateful in hindsight, right? So why not claim the gratitude right now? You know it's getting worked to help you progress. That's how you get to have joy in progress, even when you don't know exactly why you're going to be joyful about it. That'll come later. But you can claim it, and that helps you be a vibrational match for joy in everything. Claim it right now. You will. Try that. See what your ego can try and sneak around that. That's a pretty good one to get around ego. Happy and grateful even while you're throwing a fit in the background, because that's getting work to my highest good. And as Yogananda said, it is really about allowing. And that too has come through for me as I was teaching over the last few years. That it is simply allow through you. And we really, at least I'll speak for myself, I discovered as I was teaching others to teach others about the covering over, as I was striving to take that essence and convey it to new teachers, I really started to feel for myself, almost physically, how I would kind of shut down and resist letting God and Guru through me. So you may not feel it in that same way, but it really is about allow yourself to be who you are. Allow the Holy Spirit to work through you. And for me, when I start to feel all tensed up, if I think of softening and letting love through, that's where I get into flow instead of kind of resisting who I am. And that too is where I don't have to figure any of it out, It's just let myself be who I am and let the things that aren't me come up and see them and go, oh yeah, that's not me. And intend who I am again. Anything more there, Yogananda?
I was just feeling, Joanne, to say not to get disheartened when tests come. Once you feel in that joyful space and you've affirmed where you're going and everything feels positive and you think, yes, I'm there, and up comes tests, see them as joyful tests, as Joanne says. Don't get disheartened by it, because tests don't come to trip you up. They come to show you something. And it's a question of our attitude of mind towards them. That was in Gurudeva's very early days of training when she pointed things out to us. It was when you can get to the point where you receive that joyfully. And my goodness, how many times have I wished Gurudeva were here now to point those things out, because I do get them pointed out, but I so miss that physical of pointing things out. And they are a joy, that somebody loves you enough to lovingly point out something that is holding you back. And because I tend to think in pictures, what helped me was sometimes, you know how we're fed through all of our chakras and out here, and then all of our energy that way. Sometimes it was like, yes, making the space for God to come in here, but also like feeling a divine glow behind me, just trying to manifest more. But there's parts of me that sort of put down a little shutter, a little bit, as I think Joanne just said, a bit of resistance. Now, sometimes we see that, don't we? We see that something we're either not liking change, or something about ourselves that we think no, and we're resisting that divine light to come in. But resistance creates conflict. It creates a conflict in us. It creates pain in us, because there's a deep part of us that wants that divine light to come through so that we emanate what we really are. So for me, that visualization helps. You may find something, obviously, that works for you. So don't worry that tests come, because as soon as we are striving for something, I think our higher self says, okay, let's strengthen you up. It doesn't say, let's trip you up. It says, let's strengthen you up. Don't hide your light under the bushel. Let's do that. And we've got little karmic balls that probably are still rolling from way back. And a lot of those get dispersed with our pure meditation, our Kriya Yoga and our Guru Yoga. But they will come up for us to see as we fine tune. And we've all, I'm sure of us, all talked about these last couple of years since Gurudeva passed, how the light has been very powerful for all of us, each in our own individual, unique way. And even those couple of months before she passed, when Gurudeva was in hospital for a few days, something in me went through a big shift. I couldn't pinpoint, and analyze, but something went, and that's the divine grace. I think that's the grace of God. That's why, as Joanne said, we do our bit. God and Guru do the 75%. So we have to make space for that grace to happen. And then before we know it, we're there. And everything that we were working through has gone. And nearly every master that I've read during lockdown and devotees, I tend to read sometimes, devotees stories of being with their master, and nearly all of them at some level or other say, keep it simple, in words, in other words, obviously. And Gurudeva didn't use big complicated phrases, did she, with any of her teachings? And she didn't waste words. So for us, what really resonated for Joanne and I was taking those words maybe a bit deeper. And because we'd found each other to speak to on that level, and we realized we'd been taking those things a bit more deeply, and we'd also seen how some of our family were perhaps either struggling with that or not quite seeing or giving themselves a hard time, is what prompted this evening. So yeah, I hope some of this has been helpful. Thank you. Any more, Joanne, from you?
Yes, just one last thought about realizing for myself that the joy is in being in that flow, of allowing the flow through myself. And the struggle is when I'm resisting that. As Yogananda said, that's when I am creating pain And difficulty is when I resist being who I am. That's the struggle.
So, dear family, in a moment, we will give our thanks to God and Guru, acknowledgements and our prayer, and then we'll listen or sing along if we wish to Gurudeva's song chant, Joy in Our Hearts. We'll then stop the recording, and those of you that feel you have any questions or want any clarification or even a suggestion of how you'd like to see something expanded, because we certainly see that there is so much more potential and where to go next, if you like, with everything. We would really value your input if you have any. And I think it's apt to finish our acknowledgements with Gurudeva's, one of Gurudeva's final words on that talk was, on joy was, and above all, joy in God. And remember, God is not out there. Well, he is, obviously, he's everywhere. But it's not just something out there. It's already in you. It's already in all of us. Joy is our birthright. So it's up to us to decide to claim it, isn't it? And I think it was Paramahansa Yogananda said to Swami Kriyananda, bringing self-realization into the world is the greatest gift you can give humanity. So let's finish now with our acknowledgements to our beloved God and Guru. Divine Beloved, we thank you from our hearts for life on this beautiful planet, for all of the opportunities, some of which we see and some may be unseen. Help us not to judge all of the gifts that come our way. There's no good, there's no bad, there just is. Help us to bring our joy at your feet, that we may give you the love and the joy that you've given us through our beloved Gurudev. And we also take a moment to ask that that love and joy reaches out across the world, wherever it may be needed, so that your will is ever done.
There is always joy in singing to the infinite beloved, joy in our hearts. Let us light the candle, let us sing with joy. As we sing together, our thoughts are all of love. So let us sing together be like our God above. Let us light the candle, let us sing with joy. As we sing together, our thoughts are all on high. So let us sing together, be like our God above. Let us light the candle, let us sing with joy. As we sing together, our thoughts are all of love. So let us sing together, be like our God above. Let us light the candle, let us sing with joy. As we sing together, our thoughts are all on high. So let us sing together, be like our God above. Be like our God above. Be like our God